Right, welcome back if you've just joined us. We're in Woodmead today for the latest in the series of New Age business briefings brought to you by the SABC and today kindly sponsored by 49M Eskom. And we're talking about trade unions, we're talking about unionization, we're talking about May Day, which happened recently, Workers' Day in South Africa. And to take us through that is Cosatu President Dlamini and the First Deputy-President Tyotyo James. Gentlemen, thanks once again for joining us. And just before the break, we were talking about union activity, 26 to 29% in South Africa. And, you know, I was looking at figures in other parts of the world. Canada, it's as low as 2%. Yeah. Norway, 3%. West Germany, 6%. Austria, 9%. The UK, 14%. So union activity in other parts of the world is even worse than we have here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why is that? And we were talking about the young in particular.
Yes, it's the youth who must be taken through in South African context in particular, because it's very, very important. It's like fashion for our youth today to say, I know we hear there were struggles, there was this, and no. That's the old people's life. It's our time now. So we have that duty. We have started as Cosatu to talk to our youth and say trade unions are important for our youth in South Africa. And there is evidence that talks to that, because they get into trouble all the time at the workplace. They want that promotion, they get to be disciplined, and they need a union, and nothing else represents them. There are laws that are supposed to be defending them, and they need a trade union. So that's one factor. The second thing is the technology that has been changing. You know, cars today, you have robots dominating the space. They put together a car, and you just need one person to just look into the screen and instruct the robot to do so. The job that was done by 20 people is done by one person, and then the robots have occupied the space. It's a reality. How we must then match that, it would require that we improve on training, but we also ensure that we fight that. We really must fight that. We shouldn't give up purely because there's new technologies coming in, then we must accept we are going to be without jobs. It's a fight that we must pick as Cosatu to defend our jobs.
I guess relevance keeps coming up. Are unions relevant still? If we're seeing these numbers shrinking over time, you're struggling to convince young people. Will we have unions in 20, 30 years' time? Or do we need a paradigm shift? We have workplace forums at the moment, and they do everything except wage negotiations. Is that maybe what we need to be thinking about in terms of the future?
Look, we can't organize, for instance, in the old way when Cosatu was formed in 1985. We need to change with time, ensure that young people do understand the reason why they should belong to the trade unions. If we don't change, we will perish. So the key that we must do is change to attract more members, particularly the youth.
All right, we've got a lot of things to unpack, so I'm going to try and start moving this quite quickly. Let's go to our tables, and I'm mindful of you at home as well, sending messages through Twitter, but we start at table number 2, where we'll find Sabelo. If you could stand up, we'll get your question. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter. My name is Sabelo from NUM. I just want to go straight to the questions. Greetings to the leadership. My first question is, we've heard the president speaking about the issues of salaries, and Cosatu have been speaking about the issue of minimum wage. Just want to check how far are we today. And the second question, the lifeblood of any organization is its membership. And in Cosatu, we have seen the decline of the membership in as far as affiliates is concerned? And what is the plan of Cosatu in regard with that? Thank you.
Okay, let's deal with that question.
Yeah, on the national minimum wage negotiations, we're at a point now where at NEDLEC we are debating at what level should be the national minimum wage be. We've agreed on the principle that South Africa needs it, and we are working on that. The Deputy President is leading us on that. At what level? There are still 3 different positions. We're trying to merge them into one position. We are concerned there is a delay, but we think we're getting closer there. On the second question, it's true that numbers have been going down, and we're not going to be overemphasizing the point of the retrenchments of people resigning and joining this union or that other union. Reality is that Congress said, let's go back to basics. And that's where we started earlier on. Service the members that are present, ensure that you address their grievances so that they stay in the union, but recruit more and ensure that you go out there to recruit more members. It's a task. Each and every union has that responsibility. Each union, of course, has allocated 10% of its budget on education. We must do that. We must ensure that that education happens. Don't divert that budget for something else.
Talking about those dwindling numbers, Mekro Peter Philomo says, President Dlamini is lying. They don't go to the workers. They only go there when things are out of control and are only helping themselves. This is his perception. How did he get to that point?
Yes, sometimes we have made a mistake as Cosatu leaders. We sometimes speak and act as if we are leaders in the unions. And when it is leadership of the unions that talks to members, we sometimes talk as if it's us. They are leaders of trade unions. He must ask who his leader is and when did that leader come to speak to him. We can only come later because we simply coordinate and send a collective Cosatu message out there. Implementation is in the affiliate.
So if implementation is in the affiliate, what's the relevance of the federation?
The federation is relevant because it is a coordinating structure of all the unions. It's relevant.
Why do you need one if the affiliates are dealing with the issues on the ground in the various sectors?
We work on policy, because we must agree on what is the policy Cosatu is running at a particular time.
Yes.
I've spoken about the national minimum wage.
Yeah.
We're working and coordinating those debates.
Yes.
In Parliament, we coordinate the work that must happen there. Policy work that talks to what Cosatu unions does on a day-to-day basis. When negotiations are happening, we agree at a central level what is our line of march.
Okay. Simon Mate is on table number 3. Let's go to you.
Thank you very much, and greetings to the leadership of the Federation, which some would say proud affiliate of the Federation. We have 2 questions. The first one relates to the EPWP. That what is it that we can do in order to ensure that opportunities that exist in the EPWP can then be converted into permanent job opportunities? Because our view is that EPWP seems to be the worst slavery which we have ever experienced. The last one relates to labor brokering. While we are aware that the Federation has been doing work in relation to that particular campaign, but then do we have mechanisms in place to ensure that we accelerate that particular campaign so that it is the labor brokering system is totally scrapped? Those were our 2 questions. Thank you very much.
Okay. So first of all, what is EPWP? Help us with that.
Yes, the expanded public works programs that government put to do these short-term jobs, and some is correct. There is great deal of exploitation there. Those workers are permanently casualized and with no rights whatsoever. And what we did, something that I think we should really praise Cosatu for, in the current manifesto debate of the ANC, the manifesto that was adopted, we pushed until the last end to get that issue of insourcing into the manifesto. That matter is there. We have to ensure that we insource those services so that we get the municipalities and any other level of government to take in on a permanent basis those workers. It's a decision already. It's going to be implementation. On the labor brokers issue, indeed, it's an issue of enforcement. By the way, we must thank government for having recently working with Cosatu unions and other unions. We have defeated Herman Mashaba, who has been pushing for the situation where the agreements reached at the collective bargaining level should not be extended to non-parties, thus destroying the opportunities of benefits for those members. The court has ruled in our favor. Those agreements are binding to those to support those workers who are out there. So, but on this one, we're now on 3 months with the labor broker issue. It was a life sentence. It's now 3 months. Cosatu is not happy with the 3 months because employers are even subverting that. They recycle workers, they fire them at the 3 months or change them so that they do not have to be registered permanently. We are fighting the thing both at the CCMA level. We are happy Department of Labor is challenging that issue. We're joining that fight so that there is the respect of that law. But our objective is for a total ban of labor brokers. It is this COSAT that has pushed it thus far.
Right. Let's unpack this labor broker issue and perhaps help us who don't quite understand what the issues are. But I get a sense that government can't completely get rid of labor brokers. Some kind of hybrid is going to be the solution here. But what is the issue with the labor brokers? Is it not that if I'm an employer and I've got an employee, the Labour Relations Act determines the relationship between employer and employee. So labor brokers are subject to that too, surely. So is it not just about enforcing the rules that are there already between the labor broker and his employee? Why get rid of the labor broking in its entirety? Maybe it's just a question of policing the labor brokers and making sure they comply with the Labour Relations Act.
You know, the crisis, the employee who is brought into a workplace by a labor broker is that that employee ends up not knowing who employed him. He ends up not knowing because there are 3 people involved. It is the placing company, it is the receiving company, it is the employee. When the employee is in trouble, he goes to the immediate employer. The employer says, no, I never employed you. You were brought in by somebody else. But you go and look for that person. The person met with this one in the boot of the car and the car is moved on. You will never find the person. That's the crisis, which is why it couldn't work. That worker still had no rights.
But they're paid by someone. That person that pays them surely is the
employer. The employer pays and the labor broker takes as much as he can and gives little to the worker. And the worker has no right to even negotiate on that thing. That's the current situation which must change, which is what we are working hard to change.
But with minimum wage, that will fall away, right?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be an issue anymore. If you've got a minimum wage that the worker must receive, despite what the commission, the labor broker might take, it still need to be paid that.
No. The worker there is working and doing the same job that I am doing. Why can't we be paid an equal salary? Even when the minimum wage comes, it's still add on what I'm receiving as my full right as an employee. That is not happening at the moment.
Insourcing is another one. We're seeing, I think recently, we're talking about security guards being employed permanently at the universities, but that's not their core business. The universities are there, for example, I'm just using that as an example, they're there to educate. And so it makes sense to outsource the security portion of it, surely?
No, it doesn't. Outsourced services are exploitatory. If a worker is outsourced, exploitation is rife in that system. If there is a need for this particular job to be done, why outsource it?
All right, so you're saying that security companies must disappear?
No.
What
if
do they
you
do
need,
then?
if a university needs a security, that university must employ security and train people as security.
Or, yeah, again, you're not hearing me. Security does security, and it deploys security personnel. What you're telling me now is that they must stop working because these businesses must employ their own security people.
Perhaps, Peter,
Yeah.
let's look as to what has caused the problem,
Right.
which is the president trying to explain.
Yeah.
The private security company,
Yeah.
which is providing the service to that university, doesn't pay or doesn't afford that employee the rights that the rest of the other employees are enjoying in this university.
Yeah, but he's
because
not
it's
employed by the university.
Precisely. It means that when the university needs this service, it has to ensure that whoever is performing this service enjoys the benefits of the job in the manner that university is able to pay. Because the problem is university will be paying the private company 500 rands, and the company only takes 50 rands and pay the worker.
All right. I mean, you can see the challenges, though, because now it's going to go to catering and all sorts of other industries.
Actually, that's the thing.
And so they must employ a kitchen, they must employ security, all of those. Those companies will disappear. A lot of them owned by black entrepreneurs.
But black entrepreneurs must not disappoint us as workers and accept that because they are blacks, they must then pay us peanuts. We don't take peanuts. We're not monkeys.
Okay. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll get more questions from the floor and from your Twitter accounts as well. Stay with us.